Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Diary. Put on your earphones and let's start the story without losing any time. You are listening the Voice of Diary. I, 32M, own a small logistics company with my wife, 30F. When I say own, I mean I funded it, built it, and worked 14-hour days for 2 years straight while she handled branding and company culture. We met 5 years ago. She was sharp, confident, organized. I liked that about her. I thought she was disciplined. Turns out, she just liked control. The day everything cracked open wasn't dramatic at first. It was a Tuesday, payroll morning, coffee half finished. I was reviewing expenses when I noticed a new internal policy document in our shared drive titled Operational Compliance Update. I didn't remember approving anything. I opened it. Mandatory 6:30 a.m. check-ins. GPS tracking for company vehicles outside business hours. Pre-approval required for any purchase over $100. All vendor contracts routed exclusively through her. And at the bottom, a clause that made me pause. Executive decision-making authority rests with wife as managing director. We never formalized those titles. I walked into her office. "Hey," I said, holding my laptop. "What's this?" She didn't look up immediately. "Efficiency," she said calmly. "We're scaling. Structure matters. You didn't talk to me about this." She finally looked up. "Because you resist structure. You think instinct is strategy." I kept my voice steady. "We're 50-50 members. We both sign off on policy changes." She leaned back. That small smile. "If you don't like rules, leave." It was so casual, so rehearsed. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. She didn't blink. So I replied, "Don't mind if I do." The look on her face shifted, just slightly. She didn't expect that. But here's the thing she didn't realize. I'd already been noticing patterns. For months, vendors would mention, "Wife told us to bill this differently." Employees would say, "Wife approved overtime changes." She started hosting leadership meetings without me. She had removed my admin access to the company's Slack by accident once. And 3 weeks before that Tuesday, I received an email from our bank asking me to confirm a line of credit application. I never applied. She had, using the company's EIN, without telling me. Under U.S. law, for a multi-member LLC, major financial obligations typically require consent of members unless operating agreement says otherwise. Ours required both signatures for debt above $25,000. She signed alone. When I confronted her back then, she said, "You're too cautious. We need leverage." Leverage. That word kept echoing. So when she told me to leave, something clicked. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just nodded. "Okay," I said. "We'll handle it properly." That's when she narrowed her eyes. "Handle what properly?" "Our operating agreement." Now she was alert. See, when we formed the LLC 2 years ago, I insisted on a detailed operating agreement drafted by a business attorney. Buy-sell clauses, fiduciary duties, member removal procedures, deadlock resolution. She skimmed it. I memorized it. There was a clause. If one member breached fiduciary duty or engaged in unauthorized financial commitments, the other member could trigger a forced buyout at fair market value, determined by independent valuation, minus damages caused by the breach. That line of credit she attempted to secure without my signature, that was a breach. But I needed documentation. So over the next 2 weeks, I played calm. I attended her meetings. I followed her rules. I let her believe I was adjusting. Meanwhile, I pulled bank records, emails, Slack logs, vendor confirmations. I requested copies of the unsigned line of credit paperwork from a bank. The loan officer was cooperative once I explained I was a 50% member who hadn't authorized it. Turns out she had told them I was unavailable due to health reasons. That's when my attorney got involved. We sent a formal notice of breach of fiduciary duty and invoked the buy-sell clause. Under state law, she had 30 days to respond to valuation procedures. She exploded. "You're trying to push me out? You told me to leave." That was a figure of speech. I'm taking it literally. That's when the dirty trick started. First, she tried to lock me out of the company email server. IT restored access once I proved ownership. Then she called 3 major clients and implied I was stepping down due to burnout. One client forwarded me the message. Then she tried something bold. She filed for divorce. We didn't have kids. No joint property besides the business and our house. In community property states, business ownership during marriage can be complex. But we had a post-nuptial agreement drafted after we launched the company, clearly stating business equity remained separate as defined in the operating agreement. She forgot about that too. In her divorce filing, she requested temporary exclusive control of the business, citing operational stability. Her attorney likely didn't know about the fiduciary breach notice already in motion. My attorney filed a response immediately. We attached documentation of the unauthorized debt attempt and misrepresentation to the bank. Then something interesting happened. The bank flagged the attempted loan as potential financial misrepresentation because she had declared unanimous member approval. That triggered internal compliance review. She got nervous. One night she came home and said, "We can settle this privately." Sure, I said. Buy out. As per agreement. She wanted full market valuation without breach penalties. I declined. The independent valuation came back lower than she expected because of risk exposure from the pending compliance review. Then her final move. She sent an email to staff accusing me of creating instability and hinting at ethical concerns. That was her mistake, because defamation in a business context, especially if provably false and damaging, opens another legal door. My attorney advised restraint. So instead of reacting emotionally, we sent a formal correction notice to staff clarifying that governance matters were under legal review and daily operations continued unchanged. We also requested she cease unilateral communications representing sole authority. Then we did something strategic. We called a formal member meeting as permitted by the operating agreement. Minutes recorded. Counsel present. She attended, confident. We presented documentation of breach, the misrepresentation to the bank, the attempted unauthorized debt, the employee communications. She argued it was strategic leadership. Our attorney asked one question. Did you obtain written consent from the other member before signing the loan application? Silence. No, that was enough. Under the agreement, breach triggered mandatory buyout at adjusted valuation minus damages tied to legal exposure and compliance review costs. She realized she wasn't keeping control. Her expression changed. Not anger. Calculation. Over the next 60 days, the valuation finalized. Damages assessed. Legal fees calculated. She walked away with less than half of what she thought the company was worth. The divorce settlement followed shortly after. Since business equity was governed by the operating agreement and protected under the post-nuptial agreement, it wasn't split 50-50 in divorce court. The judge upheld contractual governance documents, which is common when properly executed. She tried one last thing, requesting spousal support. But both of us were earning comparable income from the business during marriage. And since she was receiving a buyout payout, the court didn't award long-term support. 6 months later, the compliance review closed. No loan issued. No damage to our credit. The company stabilized. Employees stayed. Clients stayed. I removed the managing director title from everything. You know what stuck with me the most? It wasn't the legal battle. It was that moment. If you don't like rules, leave. She thought rules were leverage. She thought control meant power. But contracts matter. Documentation matters. Com matters. She tried entitlement, manipulation, narrative control, legal intimidation. And when she realized I wasn't bluffing, the look on her face said everything. Some people think strength is dominance. It's not. It's knowing the rules better than the person trying to use them against you. If you enjoyed watching entitlement meet paperwork, you might want to stick around. Consider subscribing. I promise the next story won't need a compliance